Welcome back to the third in this three-part series. Today we're going to make these brilliant minds put their money where their mouth is. We're going to ask them what's going to happen to inflation, what's going to happen to the stock market, and what's going to happen to growth after this budget. And we're going to ask them, they're so easy to be critical of the finance minister. What happens if they were finance minister? What kind of budget would they do? First of all, before we get into that, I just want to ask you, Arvind, about inclusive growth and NREG and looking after the rural sector and now in the right to education. How important are these welfare schemes in the government's policy plan?
Well, there's two parts to it. One, of course, is education and health. Let me leave that for a moment. But the NREG is very important because for many years, perhaps a decade, a lot of people have said that certain reforms, for example, in labor policy or certain other things cannot be carried out. Agriculture, for example, because we don't have a safety net. Now, of course, NREG...
You can't do reforms in industry because there's no safety net.
Safety net. So now you have an NREG, which is a big safety net for the poor in rural and urban
that's an
areas.
Important point.
And therefore, there are certain reforms which actually are now feasible if you go by earlier statements.
So, Ela, what Arvind's arguing is that you should have these safety nets because that allows you to have more reforms. Is that a valid argument?
I think it is actually, because it will allow space for doing things which otherwise you could have said can't be done because there are the poor who will suffer badly. Now you can say, okay, even if there is inequitable growth, but right, because you have these safety nets where you're cutting off that extreme left tail where you don't have very poor, you don't have hunger and starvation because you've given them some support.
That these function properly, yeah.
Or it might take a few years to make them work well, but you've started on that path, and so it does play an important role, and especially in a democracy. You can't allow for very inequitable growth because you're going to have problems, and so even if growth is inequitable.
The point they're making that NREG is not just a populist thing. It actually also allows you politically to push through reforms. Is that valid?
Well, that's logical. But is that the intention? And is that where you are headed? Nobody is convinced. Also, while I agree that these schemes are good and you have to provide a safety net because growth all over the world is iniquitous, particularly in its initial phases. Growth is iniquitous because only some people have the ability to take advantage of growth initially. Are these schemes being properly administered? Is there reform required in these schemes? I think there is insufficient debate. Why has NREGA worked better than many other schemes? Because, you brought the banks in, you brought a certain degree of supervision, a certain degree of reform into this. But there are so many schemes, in fact, yojanas running in our system.
So the schemes are okay to have, but they should be more efficient, more targeted.
The idea of targeting support at the really poor.
Now, Sujit, is this all bleeding heart stuff, and that these schemes?
I'm afraid I have to disagree with my brilliant colleague. Look, and more things change, the more they remain the same. For the last 30 years, one has been hearing this. We need social security nets, we need social safety nets, we need this. And we should all remember that in 1985, Rajiv Gandhi, then Prime Minister, made the following statement. And these were the same issues being discussed then. And he said that basically of the government programs meant for the poor, only 15% of the money actually went to the poor.
Tuba.com